Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving a 2001 Aston Martin DB7 V12 Vantage Volante. Bit of a mouthful, but we've got a 5.9 liter naturally aspirated V12 mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox, driving the rear wheels. And it's a convertible, which in Aston Martin speak is Volante. On the back, it's labeled as DB7 Vantage, and this is where we can start getting into the nitty-gritty of this car, because this was under Ford's ownership. A lot of people like to poo-poo these cars and say, oh, DB7 isn't a real Aston Martin, they were junk, and the prices in the market kind of prove their point, except that they're not bad to drive. There are a lot of parts bin things on these cars. Despite being incredibly beautiful, these are Mazda 626 taillights. In fact, if you take away this little shroud here, you'll notice how exactly it is a Mazda 626 taillight. This one's been around. It's only got 35,000 miles, but you'll start to see some wear and tear, but mechanically, ooh, mwah, chef's kiss. It's fantastic. So I think you're really going to enjoy this drive, because I've enjoyed driving it so far already. This blue is gorgeous, and it has the bright tan interior. I think it's imperative that if you're going to have an Aston Martin or Bentley convertible of any kind, you go subtle on the outside and bright on the inside. That way, when you release the top, you expose the excitement beneath. Now, like I said, it's been through some things. So somebody definitely enjoyed this. The paint is all worn away down here. This is cracked, but here's the deal. In 2001, the DB7 Volante cost around $153,000. Now, you can probably option them out even higher. Today, you can buy these on Bring a Trailer in pretty good condition for under 30 grand. So you can laugh all you want, but you might be laughing at someone who managed to sneak into a manual V12 convertible and not you. To get into our trunk, we use this little key slot here under the emblem. We've got reasonable space, nothing crazy, but it gets the job done. So first, let's get under the hood, and this is going to be a little tricky, and I'm going to show you why. These hoods get really hot, okay? They open that way, and I'm going to use my special finger-saving cloth and make a vain attempt to show you what's under here. So imagine this, California, car overheats, you've got to open the hood. You're not getting under here. This is incredibly hot. So first, we lift this guy up. Ah, that's so brutal. Oh, there we go. Oh my goodness. Still have fingerprints, I think. But there it is. There's the heart of it. And a lot of people also kind of poo-poo on this engine because they're like, well, it's two Ford Duratec engines sandwiched together. And it kind of is. However, it's really smooth. It makes 420 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. It's not a high revving V12, but its job is to waft you along on a wave of torque. No turbos. It is just instantaneous. And while we've got that open, let's listen to it. There's a little plaque here that tells us it was hand-built in England. Final inspection by Kevin Wild. Thanks, Kevin. Your engine is still running. And back here, you just get this gorgeous bassy tone. So people can complain all they want about the pedigree of the DB7, but the joke's on them if you're the one driving it. Gluing us to the road on an 18-inch wheel up front is a 245 section tire, and on the rear, a 265 section tire. So let's go see if this thing is fun to drive, and if it's worth your money, if it's heavily depreciated. Give you a second startup because I love the starter noise on V12s. Now the interior, more Ford stuff, unfortunately. This is where it's not charming because there's just some very chunky buttons, and you'll notice the Mazda people get a couple extra Easter eggs because these are Miata door handles. Our parking brake is engaged despite being on the floor right now, and this is a very annoying parking brake. Not because of its function, but because it blocks the buttons that you use for seat controls. So it's really difficult. You got to kind of pull it out of the way to use your seat controls. Now, to put it down, you pull up, hit the button, and push down. And then you'll notice it's still saying park. You just wiggle it a little bit. That's very typical of Astons of this time period and even DB9. Let's see how this V12 gets off the line. Is potent. In 2024, when you see the number 400 horsepower, that kind of describes almost everything now, so it doesn't seem like a lot, but this car still feels quick. It feels fast. The steering wheel's small in diameter, so it kind of feels sporty in a funky way. You're surprised that it's that small. It's a pretty aggressive clutch. It's, I don't want to say stage 2, but in the DB1, the Zagato version of the DB7, there was an upgraded clutch. This may even have that. I'm not positive, but it's feeling a little more beefy to me. Gonna take the pothole line through here. Be nice if they repaved a section of road like this, but it goes to show that this is luxurious. It is an Aston Martin after all, and I'm not afraid to tackle some bumps. I've got some sidewall on these tires. We're not working with like a 20-inch wheel. We've got 18, so it's appropriate. And the more I'm driving this, the more I'm feeling connected to it. You've watched my other reviews of manual Aston Martins. I'm not always that thrilled with them because they haven't, in newer Vantages, the V8, V12s, and DB9, they didn't seem to like marry up the clutch, throttle, and transmission together, the shifter. And this, it's all intuitive. It all feels right. Yeah, there you go. A blinker is great. Halfway into the lane. This shifter and clutch just encourages interaction. Like, I'm excited for every shift. And while this is not some lightweight, high revving engine, it's still playful enough that when you get into it for a rev match, it gets to the RPMs you want. And And there's no rev hang. This thing rips. Has a 200-mile-an-hour speedo, and I don't know that I would think this could do 200, but like, definitely sitting in top gear right now. It's geared nice and low. This is incredible. It's pretty quiet in the cabin. I mean, let's see. We'll put the windows up. Kind of annoying because I can't reach both of the window switches at the same time. Quiets it down a little bit, but frankly, there's not a lot of NVH in the car. Obviously, we get wind noise, we got the top down, but I was expecting it to be creaking and squeaking and doing all its DB7 things, but no, I mean, maybe there's some shabby exterior components on this car, but it, oddly, clearly mechanically and interior have been taken care of. Here we've got an NA Miata. We share some parts, lady. But that's about it. You gotta do it. We get away from some of the insanity that is New England traffic these days onto some back roads and just relax, enjoy this thing for what it is. It's really nice to cruise around in because you've got that nice low end torque. That's really what this engine is for. It's for wafting. It's on tap when you need it. You get your shifts out of your way and red line to red line and enjoy it. But honestly, this is just designed to sit very comfortably and happily at any RPM and cruise. It's really compliant. I mean, it's sporty. There's a little bit of body roll, but nothing aggressive. It's not as dialed in and firm as a V8 platform car that came later. But I don't think it's wobbly or anything. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is my endorsement of go out and buy yourself a DB7. Go get yourself a V12. Now, the early cars came with inline sixes. They were Jaguar AJ6s, supercharged inline sixes. I haven't driven one of those, but these later DB7s with their V12, I think is probably the cheapest way to get yourself into a V12 unless you go the Mercedes route with like an SL600 or maybe a really cheap Maybach. This is the one. This is a great car. This is enjoyable to drive. It's inexpensive. I'm sure maintenance costs need to be calculated and figured out, but I don't think it's as complicated as maybe a DB9 or, you know, God forbid the Vanquish or any of those cars. It just seems like a thing you could probably get into and enjoy without too much fear. We'll be nice to this cyclist. And I don't think you're going to be disappointed by the driving experience. I think when you get into a DB9 and you drive around in a DB9 manual, I think sometimes you are disappointed by that driving experience. I sure am. It doesn't always really hit me the way I want it to. I feel like, in Vantage is the same way. I feel like I've got to really like temper myself and time my shifts for the car. This car, you just drive it. You just grab it by the scruff of the neck and you throw what you can at it. It's a Tremec. This is a Tremec 6-speed. This is used in GM products. It's a good gearbox. It's not going to blow up on you. And if it does, you probably find it out of a Corvette or a Camaro and you'll be just fine. So, thanks to Bond Group for a lovely outing in a DB7 Vantage Volante. I think this is the depreciated V12 pick of the litter, man. If you can find one that's not destroyed, and if it is destroyed, maybe only partially destroyed, this is it. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and if you're looking at this Alpine head unit and thinking, oh, they put some cheapo thing in it, well, yeah, they did. Aston Martin did. This is stock. This is OEM. It has a tape deck, but there's a 6 CD changer in the trunk.